Welcome back. What if I told you that more than 7 out of every 10 Namibians are under the age of 35? That's not just another statistic, it's a glimpse into Namibia's future. Our country is one of the youngest on the continent, and that presents both incredible opportunities as well as significant responsibilities. From the number of classrooms that need to be built, to the teachers we need to train, the jobs that must be created, and the skills that young people should be developing for an increasingly digital and AI-driven economy, every decision begins with one thing: reliable data. As Namibia commemorates World Population Day, we start by looking at the numbers behind our youth population and why they matter. Chief Statistician at the Namibia Statistics Agency, Shimuafeni, explains how population statistics are helping shape government planning today and prepare Namibia for tomorrow.
With regard to the statistics about the youth of Namibia, as per the theme of the World Population Day, realizing the hopes and aspirations of young people, I would like to share some statistics about the Namibian youth. The Namibian population at the age of 0 to 34 years makes up a huge population, significant population size of Namibia, which is 71.1%. Out of this 71, how it's composed of is that the ages between 15 to 34 years, which is actually the youth, they make up a population size of 34.1%. Then you need to add those that are 0 to 14 years, which is 37%. So those are the statistics that we have. And then the concern about that statistics is that that group, age group of 0 to 34 years, inclusive, all inclusive, give you an unemployment rate higher than the national unemployment rate of 39.6%. They give you an unemployment rate of 34.4%, which is very close to 50% or half of that. It's quite a concern because we say the youth is the future, and the youth are almost the engine of a country, because above them are the elders and also the pensioners who need to face off at one point. But also drawing from other first world countries, some European countries that are quite wealthy, they also have the opposite challenge in terms of they have an aging population where they are already thinking of importing labor in the future, because if you look at their population pyramid, they are thin at the bottom with the age, but more on with the higher ages. So that is a concern, because who will be the future labor market? Yeah, but then from the Namibian point of view is that we should be, at least when we're talking about the future labor market, that is catered for. But the concern is still there that currently we don't have those jobs to fit into the youth population. So what it means now is that those jobs need to be created for the future adults of Namibia. And the statistics are already there showing. So from planning point of view, we need to look at what are the jobs that need to be created and by when. And also not only that, but also for school-going children as well. We also need to plan accordingly.
Okay, now statistics often shape national planning and policy. How does the data collected by the Namibia Statistics Agency influence decisions on where government invests in education, healthcare, housing, and employment opportunities for young people?
Yeah, let me just break it down on the category, if I may call it that way. When you look at education, from the population statistics, it will tell you how many people are even reaching the age of 6 years, which is a school-going age, by, for example, next year. So then we need to know, we already know that how many schools do we have or classrooms, so we'll know by next year do we have sufficient classrooms, and also per region or per area. That is part of planning for school-going children. Even for the other ages, you can also look at. Also for those who are leaving high school, going into universities, we also need to look at that. For example, now especially that tertiary education is also subsidized. Those are planning factors that are coming in terms of the fiscus, how much need to be budgeted for, whether in the next year or in the midterm view.
Okay, now one of the challenges with data is making it accessible to ordinary citizens. How can young people use the information produced by the Namibia Statistics Agency to better understand the country's economic and social landscape and identify opportunities for themselves?
Every data that we release, we place it on our website. And we are also, in the next month or two, we are also planning to relaunch the Namibia Statistics Agency, or the NSA app, where you can get the information at the fingertip also. Yes, with the website you can also get from your phone, but we just want to make it quicker and easier to access that information. So that information will be available, or rather it is already available, where you can see the structure of the economy in terms of which sectors perform, how they perform in the economy, the sizes of those sectors and how they contribute to the national GDP. And as I said also earlier, the import data that we are looking at. Even export, you can also look at it to say that if we only export this little, but we have a potential to export more, those are also some of the opportunities that you can look at.
Yeah. As we come to the end of our interview, if there's one statistic about Namibia's youth that every policymaker and every young person should know this World Population Day, what will it be, and why is it so significant for the country's future?
Yeah, I would say that statistic is that 71.1%, which is the composition of the youth and the children, or youth being 15 years to 34 years, and then 0 to 14 years. So the population of people between 0 years and 34 years make up a 71.1%. It's a huge population, almost a 3/4 of the population. So now those are the people who are the future of the country. As I said earlier, we need to provide for the people in terms of schools, jobs, tertiary education and tertiary education. And then that statistic also carry the other statistic of unemployment. Mm-hmm. So we also need to create jobs, like I said earlier. So that is what we always need to keep in mind. And what it means also, we need to think of sustainability going forward. Whatever we do needs to be sustainable, looking the future ahead of us, so that we can take care of the youth that is there.
Well, the numbers certainly paint a compelling picture, but statistics only become meaningful when they inform action. Knowing that Namibia has one of the youngest populations in the world means planning doesn't start when young people enter the job market. It begins from the very first day that they enter the classroom. With close to 930,000 learners currently enrolled in schools across the country, the challenge isn't simply about providing education. It's about ensuring there are enough classrooms, enough teachers, stronger early childhood development programs, and an education system that prepares today's learners for tomorrow's economy, one increasingly shaped by technology, innovation, and now artificial intelligence. So how is government responding to this demographic reality? Acting Executive Director in the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports and Culture, Ida Bon, explains how these population trends are influencing education planning and why investing in children from the earliest years could have the greatest impact on Namibia's future.
The Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, as the big ministry, notes actually an increase in learner numbers over the past years, and such that now of our total population, which is about 3 million, close to 1 million is actually in school. And that in as per the 15 school day statistics, that is 930,000 learners that are in school.
Those figures you've just mentioned are quite astounding. 930,000 learners currently in school. That's almost 1/3 of the Namibian population. And that population is young and it's going to continue to grow. Is our education system, Madam Bond, keeping pace with the increasing demand for classrooms?
Yeah, I like to say we are doing our best to keep up with the demand, but it is a very young population, growing population, and so we have debated around a backlog in classroom infrastructure and accessible schools, overcrowded classrooms. So we have the decongestion plan in the ministry.
Okay.
What means is all schools that are over 1,500 was the first round to decongest them down to smaller schools. And then, this next round, 1,500 and then 2,200 and so on. So that decongestion plan really paves the way forward for addressing that problem of overcrowded classrooms and also to create more manageable units. Schools as a social unit should be more manageable. And that is very close to our heart because that contributes directly to quality outputs, to learning outcomes and, competencies achieved. If we look into the statistics of ECD, we have found that the ones in those over 3,000 registered ECD centers.
Within the entire country?
Within the entire country, yeah. Those are often also having some overaged learners. That means learners or children who are actually supposed to be in school already, but because the next primary school is too far away, they're sort of bound to this ECD center, not to say stuck. And we are now working hard at models how to enable these to articulate easier to the next level, which is then pre-primary and grade 1.
Yeah.
So whether it means employing more teachers at the ECD centers, drawing qualified teachers to ECD centers, or even building hostel facilities at junior primary schools. But it's not so desirable to take the little ones, the preschoolers, from their parents.
And put them into a hostel. Right.
Yeah.
What happens to the figure of those children? If we say out of 100, only 50 or 60% are actually in pre-primary.
Primary.
The
other
40%
40 learners are either not in school at all or stuck in kindergarten, So that is what we are working on. And because there is that government commitment, as of the 1st of January of 2027, ECD, the management, the educational management aspect of ECD will transition to the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture. And if we currently look at, based on the 2017 public expenditure analysis, the investment into ECD at that point in time, it has improved a little bit, but not much, was only at $265 per child per annum. And for primary, at that point in time, was 15,000, and at secondary, 28, but at tertiary, it was 57.
So those figures could do a total flip over if the
it's
investment
a
starts
skewed
earlier.
pyramid where actually the more investment matters here, or investment matters more at the infant. That's why also, you know, nutrition is a priority for us. Feeding at ECD centers and pre-primary schools included now in the Namibia school feeding program.
Madam Bon, I want to further our conversation and look at education, which I think in 2026 you can't really touch on without talking about technology, because it's really influencing the education system, not only in Namibia, but across the world. And then added on to that, there's artificial intelligence as well right now. How is the education system here to equip learners with the skills they need to succeed in the jobs of tomorrow, where these skills will be needed? You mentioned that about 381 of our schools are currently digitally connected. Speak to us just briefly about that.
Yeah. The ministry's aspiration is to get all schools connected, and through the GIGA initiative, and that is, you know, the Telecommunications Authority, CRAN, as well as MICT, Ministry of Information and Communication and Technology, and ourselves, and development partners such as UN agencies, we have embarked on this mapping. So if you go now to the internet and print in the GIGA profile of the country, you can see dots for every school on, you know, the map of Namibia. And then those dots, if you click on one, you will see immediately whether they are active, you know, connected, or but, and that enables us to really zoom into where the biggest need is. And so the ICT rollout strategy has been quite successful in terms of teaming up with public entities such as MTC and others to procure computers for schools, but then also to get connected. And alongside that are various solutions, because the electricity is an important input, of course, and the infrastructure and the teacher capacity building. So those are running alongside. But there are also other, you know, initiatives based on AI, you know, the AI, artificial intelligence, you know, the teacher, the online teacher, so to say, where we have, you know, through Vitalis Haupindi, the Wayeni project, where he piloted this AI teacher for, you know, if every learner has a one-on-one teacher, of course, every learner will access better than compared, you know, this teacher-learner ratio and the overcrowded classrooms. So the prerequisite is, of course, to have a device or a computer online, or even, you know, there's a hub installed in schools,
at the school.
And Shimuafeni is one of these success stories there, you know, the turnaround.
In conclusion, Madam Bon, if you could just leave Namibia's young people with one message on this World Population Day, what would you encourage them to pursue in terms of their dreams and, you know, that will actively contribute to shaping this country's future?
Yeah, I think that is a very valid question, and mine is always, you know, maintain a positive outlook, and no matter what comes and how bad it comes, you know, we all experience difficulties, and our success stories come from overcoming these difficulties. So never give up, and try to find that sounding board that you need to regather your strength from whatever, you know, adversities that you are faced.
Well, we've heard the numbers. We've heard how government is planning for Namibia's growing youth population. But perhaps the most important question is this: what do young people themselves have to say? After all, this year's World Population Day theme reminds us that development isn't just about planning for young people, it's about listening to them, their dreams, their ambitions, and their aspirations, should help shape the decisions being made today. Young Namibians are growing up in a world that's changing faster than ever before. They face unique challenges, but they're also stepping into opportunities that previous generations could only imagine. Former Children's Parliament member and law graduate Rivaldo Kavanga shares his perspective on the realities young people are facing today, the opportunities they believe are within reach, and what they hope Namibia's future will look like.
I know the biggest aspirations of young Namibians today. One at the top of the priority list is of course finding employment. I think the youth unemployment statistics in this country are just quite saddening. And beyond that, I think also scrolling social media today, you'd come across that even young people with jobs don't earn enough. I think, and I speak under correction, there's a 50% of the employed population that earns under 5,000. So you'd find that young people that are unemployed want to get jobs. That's their aspirations, to get a job. And young people that are employed want to earn more. So no one is actually happy. Young people are not happy. Employed young people are not happy. Unemployed young people are not happy. So I really think that those are the biggest aspirations of young people on the list. Number one, getting a job. Number two, ensuring that they finish their degrees. Many young people, even with subsidized education, still struggle to come to Windhoek, to go to a major town to pursue their education. I think sometimes we're so disassociated in urban areas about the true struggles of young people in the rural areas. And sometimes when you speak to your cousins in the village and you just ask, oh no, but what is this and what is this? You can't unfortunately help everyone. And you find that most of these young people just want an opportunity to study, and they don't even have that. Even with subsidized education, there's a lot of cost involved that these young people still need to cater on their own, that they just don't have money for. So the first thing is obviously employment, like I said, and the second one is education, just being educated, because that is the dream, I would say the Namibian dream that has always been promised to every young person, is that you will get an education, whether it was through NASFAF, through the loans, or now through subsidized education.
I want to ask you, because you're not a new leader within the young space, within the youth space, and now you're a lawyer. You've come a long way from Children's Parliament,
Yes.
And you've dealt with young people and the issues that affect them from day to day, Rivaldo. Do you feel that the young people in Namibia have enough opportunities when it comes to influencing decisions that can shape their future?
Enough opportunities. I won't say that they have enough opportunities, but we definitely have a great platform. Like you mentioned, as part of the Children's Parliament, and even that influence that I've been able to bring, not just me, but my peers as well. And when you look at the people before me and the people that came after me, the influence has always been massive. But again, I think one of the strongest issues I've realized over the years of just being in the spaces is that we need to decentralize some of these spaces. It's not enough to bring one or two learners from the Kavango West region, from the Kunene region to Windhoek to come and represent 10,000 other young people. We need to take these opportunities to them there in their region. So while young people do have an opportunity to influence decisions, to influence policy, I think more can always be done. That has always been my position, that yes, let's give credit to the Namibian government. Let's give credit to the young people that are in these spaces. Let's give credit to the opportunities, but we can always do so much better. More opportunities can always be created. And even when I was in the Children's Parliament, you'd find that a lot of young people would text me, but I want to be part of this, but I'm in Zambezi region. I want to be part of this, but I'm in Karas region. I wasn't selected. There's only one learner, one child, one young person from my region that was selected. How can only one young person from the Karas, from the Kunene, or from the Zambezi region come and represent all those young people? And obviously they come to Windhoek, they are in this platform, we sit in parliament, and then we go back to our regions. Who takes care of us when we're in the region? How do we influence decisions and policy when we're in our region? So always I'll applaud government for the work they've done with Children's Parliament, with the National Youth Council, even within the parliament framework itself. We have young people that are seated there, but we need to decentralize opportunities for rural young people.
You raised some very valid and wonderful points there, Rivaldo. As we mark World Population Day, what message is it that you'd like to share with your fellow young people across the country who may feel discouraged, number one, about their future? What would you say to them to keep them inspired and have them continue pursuing their dreams?
I think to the young people, we all know the different challenges we face. It would be a disservice for me to sit here and remind you of the challenges that you face because you know these challenges particularly. All I'd say to the young people is let's make the most of what we have. We don't have it all. And as young people, we should always strive to help one another. I've always said this, as young people, we are our greatest resource and we are the only available form of help that we have for one another. If Rivaldo is situated in Windhoek, why can't you reach out from the Zambezi region? Or why can't Rivaldo reach out to you in the Zambezi region to find a way to help? Because really the future of our country isn't dependent on one young person, on a group, a selected group of young people. We all need to make sure that we strive together and we thrive together. So let's bundle up, let's hold hands, and let's try and make Namibia even greater. That has always been my motto. As young people, we need to definitely hold hands. And life is full of challenges, unfortunately. I don't know if I say unfortunately or fortunately, life is full of challenges, but those challenges also shape us. And we just need to be disciplined. We need to stay on track. Eyes on the ground, boots on the floor. We'll make it work.
If there's one message that's come through clearly today, it's that Namibia's young people are not simply the leaders of tomorrow. They are a driving force behind the decisions being made today. The statistics tell us who we are. The education sector shows us how we're preparing the next generation. And young people themselves share their hopes and challenges as well as their aspirations. The next step is ensuring that those aspirations are reflected in Namibia's long-term development agenda. The National Planning Commission is responsible for coordinating the country's development priorities, ensuring that national plans, policies and investments are geared towards improving the lives of all Namibians through evidence-based, people-centered planning. Director General Dr. Kairi Mwende explains how young people fit into that vision, why human-centered development is at the heart of the Commission's work, and how today's investments in Namibia's youth are helping create opportunities for generations to come.
If you have a human-centered development strategy, it translates itself into youth-centered. But what this country needs is economic growth, and growth that will translate itself into jobs, and jobs meaning that that you will then provide better health care, better education. These are the basics. Now we know the skills level and the mismatch between skills and the demand of the labor market. The opportunity that we have now is that there are new sectors that are emerging, oil and gas, the green hydrogen, but also digitalization, or the fourth revolution, as others would call it. And this is a space where we see most of the young people operating in. And that is the greatest opportunities. But then we have to create the right skill set for them to take really advantage of this new sector, and where a lot of us would not really be able to operate in that space, and therefore that is key. I think the youth, should really look at the new opportunities, and we have to prepare them to take advantage of those opportunities. And the first thing is, of course, through skills development, but also entrepreneurship, access to capital. And that's why we introduced the Youth Development Fund.
I was just going to ask you that, because you're emphasizing so much on preparing the young people, providing them with a skill set, or equipping them rather with a skill set to enable them to flourish in these emerging industries that we're currently seeing. And the one thing that came up was the Youth Development Fund. How is that, tying in with what you've just said in terms of equipping and upskilling these young people?
Yeah, I think the issue of access to finance has always been a problem for many young people. And therefore, the Youth Development Fund is really to try and close that gap. And that is not just sufficient. The question is, how do we leverage other sources of financing to make it possible for the youth to get financing for their businesses. Also, we are looking at a partnership with some of the foreign investors coming into the country and absorbing them not only as laborers, but also as potential partners.
Looking from the outside, in the uptake with the National Youth Development Fund seem to have been quite positive, but what's your thoughts on how Namibians or young Namibians responded to this opportunity?
No, I think they really grabbed it with both hands. And it's amazing that literally all region of the country participated in that. We got applications for all the corners of the country. And of course, some has been approved, and they're already, they're already in the process of setting up their businesses and so forth. But that is only one aspect, and it's a small aspect, but it's quite key as seed capital, but also for developing skills, because you have to start small to scale up, and therefore that is really the beginning. So we don't see that as a solution to the challenges of unemployment among young people. The solution lies in greater growth for the economy, the new sectors, but also the traditional sectors. There's so much potential in agriculture for job creation. There's so much potential, of course, in the mining, absorption of laborers into the mining sector. And so the field is open, but the growth has been quite slow. And we have also a jobless growth, that it did not create enough jobs. And so but with sector like agriculture, which are labor intensive, I think that will go a long way in absorbing quite a number of the young people. But we don't want also to see them just as workers. We want to see them as entrepreneurs, so that they can employ others also. 100%. That's why the Youth Development Fund is introduced, and that's why we are looking at various institutions, financial institutions, to support youth businesses.
Well, we know that the mandate of the NPC, it's responsible for shaping Namibia's long-term development agenda. So talk to us a little bit, Dr. Brenda, about how the aspirations of young people are reflected, in the national plans such as Vision 2030 and, of course, NDP 6.
Well, I think the aspiration of young, first of all, the issue, development is ultimately about people, and we have a human-centered development approach, and also the human resource development is key to that. Hence, the focus on the young people is to develop their capacity to take the future into their own hands. Hence, the subsidized education, where they have access to tertiary education now, access to reskilling to develop their various skills and so forth. So the focus is not really what we can do for them, but is how we can facilitate through, education, access to capital, and so forth. But broadly, our vision, of course, is to transform the whole country into an industrialized nation, as we aspire to. And that means developing the various sectors of the economy, the mining sector being an important enabler, agriculture, fisheries, tourism, and so forth. All these sectors are key to job creation, and of course also contributing towards our revenue.
Well, in conclusion, as we commemorate World Population Day, what is it that you'd like to leave as a message with the young people of Namibia?
Well, the message to young people is that, in as much as there are challenges, there are lots of opportunities. And they should not despair, You may be unemployed today, but tomorrow there will always be a tomorrow. And therefore, on a daily basis, they should really prepare themselves. Those who are, of course, employed, they have to try and see how they can do the best they can to develop themselves, to develop their country, to develop their businesses. But those who are outside the labor market should also prepare themselves to come into the labor market. And I think that is the role of government. Of course, the private sector can also play an important role to make sure that these young people are not just left behind, but they come into the labor market and they come into the mainstream of the economy as entrepreneurs.
Well, there you have it. Today's program has reminded us that population is about far more than numbers. Behind every statistic is a young person with dreams to pursue, talents to develop, and a future to build. We began by learning that more than 70% of Namibia's population is under the age of 35, a demographic reality that presents one of our country's greatest opportunities. We saw how these numbers guide everything from the classrooms we build and the teachers we train to the skills our economy will need in an increasingly digital world. We also heard from a young person themselves about the opportunities that they hope to seize and the challenges that they continue to face. And finally, we explore how those aspirations are being woven into Namibia's long-term development agenda. That message echoes the thinking behind this year's World Population Day theme, realizing the hopes and aspirations of young people today and for the future. It is also reflected in UNFPA's newly released Global Lives, Choices and Futures report, which surveyed more than 108,000 young adults across 73 countries. The findings are clear. Young people remain optimistic about their futures, but many say their aspirations are being shaped and sometimes limited by economic uncertainty, access to education, employment opportunities, and the environments in which they live. The report calls on government and societies to invest in young people's choices, their rights and opportunities, so that they can build the futures that they envision. For Namibia, that message couldn't be more relevant. Our youthful population is not a challenge to be managed. It's a national asset to be nurtured. And the decisions we make today in education, innovation, employment, and human development will determine whether we fully harness the demographic dividend that lies before us. As we commemorate World Population Day, perhaps the most important takeaway is this: when young people are empowered to realize their hopes and aspirations, the entire nation moves forward. I'm Nina Katangana. Thank you for joining us for this special World Population Day edition on the Daily Roundup with Nina. Until next time, take care.